Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Susan McGuire, Manager of Professional Development at ACCE, and I'm happy to welcome you to this afternoon's webinar. So today is the second in our two-part webinar series on ACCE's Membership Recognition Awards. In the first webinar in our series last August, we talked about ACCE's annual sales contest and its Lifetime Achievement Awards. If you missed that session, we did record it, and you'll find a recording on our Membership Development Division page. And I will let you all know how to get to that page a little bit later in the webinar. So today, though, we're going to be talking about another Membership Achievement Award focused specifically on member retention, and that's called our Annual Membership Achievement Award. To present today, we're lucky to have our own Sarah Melby, Director of Information at ACCE, and special guest Sandra Brewer, who is Vice President of Member Investor Services at the Chattanooga Area Chamber of Commerce. We are excited to share the details of this award with you and also to share with you information about the dynamic chamber benchmarking process, which you'll need to participate in order to be entered into the award or to be considered for the award. So much good stuff today. So before I introduce our speakers, here are a few housekeeping notes. First, attendees are in listen-only mode during the webinar to avoid background noise. Second, after the presentation, we will have time for questions, and you can ask those questions by using the question function of the webinar. The question box is on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your question, and I'll read it out loud for either Sarah or Sandra to answer. If you have a question that is best answered individually, or if we need more time or information to answer it, we will contact you directly. And we'll also do that if we run out of time during the webinar. This webinar is set for 45 minutes. You can also feel free to get in touch with either Sarah or me after the presentation. Sarah's contact information is right in front of you, as well as Sandra's as well. And then third, this webinar is being recorded, and it should be up on the ACCE website on the Membership Development Division page and on the ACC University webinar page by tomorrow, Thursday, October 19th, barring any technical difficulties. They sometimes do come up, but we'll do our best to have it posted and available on those pages of our website very soon. So with that, I'd like to introduce our speakers. First, Sandra Brewer. Sandra joined the Chattanooga Area Chamber of Commerce as Vice President of Member Investor Services in 2012. Since then, Chamber membership revenue has increased by 37%, and the Chattanooga Chamber received the Membership Dues Retention Award for the past 3 years. Sandra was previously Vice President of Brewer Media, a family-owned business with 5 radio stations, a newspaper, and multiple websites. Her background also includes service as a nonprofit executive for more than 20 years. She earned a BS in Organizational Management from Covenant College and is a graduate of Leadership Chattanooga. Sandra's devoted her life to volunteering for causes she believes in and was named a Chattanooga Woman of Distinction in 2012. She serves as the chair of the Center for Nonprofit Advisory Committee and Park Ridge Health Systems Board of Governors, and on the executive committee of the Chattanooga Women's Leadership Institute and United Way. Sandra's married to Jim Brewer. They have 5 amazing children and 2 beautiful granddaughters. They believe in the importance of giving back to the community and are both very proud that Brewer Media was named Corporate Philanthropist of the Year in 2011. Sarah Melby is ACCE's Director of Information and Research and manages the HERO team for help, expertise, and resources online for ACCE's members. Sarah has been with ACCE for 4 years and is a digital research librarian who has worked in public and academic libraries and market research before joining ACCE's staff. Sarah enjoys helping ACCE's members connect to the information they need to help them accomplish more in their daily work. So thank you both, Sarah and Sandra. And with that, I am going to turn the program over to Sarah.
Thanks so much, Susan. It's a pleasure to be here with Sandra, and thanks again. We'll hear from Sandra in just a little bit. So I want to give you some information and background about ACCE's Membership Achievement Awards, which Susan greatly introduced just a bit ago. So the MAA, which I'll abbreviate, recognizes top membership retention performance based on results collected and calculated from completed survey questions in dynamic chamber benchmarking. So we're going to talk a little bit more about both MAA, the retention calculations, and dynamic chamber benchmarking, and then definitely hear from Sandra's experience in her past 3 years of achieving the Membership Achievement Awards, as well as Chamber of the Year. The Chattanooga Chamber was the recipient of the 2017 Chamber of the Year this past convention. So we want to encourage all attendees on this webinar and those who listen to the recording afterwards to aim for the top in membership achievement. And that's the main purpose of this kind of red carpet award event. The MAA awards are presented at ACCE's annual convention to the top 10 chambers in their respective total revenue categories for the following areas. As I mentioned, membership retention of accounts, which is number of members, the member retention of dollars or dues, and then new member retention of accounts, also known as first year. The MAA are presented at the convention in the awards booklet, and just a note about that, it's not a stand-up award, at least it hasn't been in the past years, but you can always access previous information about MAA on the ACCE webpage for Membership Achievement Awards. And here's the path for that. So you can go to Professional Development, and then I'm going to just show you really quick how to get there on our webpage. So you would be at acce.org, click on Professional Development, and this page will walk you through, click on Awards, and then click on Membership Achievement. And it walks through all the details, the deadlines, links to dynamic chamber benchmarking, and information about the operations survey, as well as the previous top 10 MAA recipients going back from 2016 back to 2012. So just have that up there, and that's always a reference point for you. And we'll continue with the presentation here. So how to qualify, we're just going to dive right into the bones of this. Basically, to be considered for the annual MAA, you will participate in the survey questions in dynamic chamber benchmarking. I call that DCB, and you need to participate by the first quarter of each year. So the forthcoming expected deadline will be March 23 of 2018. And you will need to participate in both the chamber profile section and the operations survey section in DCB. So I'm going to show you that here in just a little bit as well, but we won't focus a lot on that because we have our own DCB webinar series that will be launching later in 2017 through 2018. And you can always contact me for more information about participating in dynamic chamber benchmarking. But here is a little bit more on how to qualify. So winners are determined in one of 4 total revenue areas based on those top retention scores just mentioned from DCB survey results. So we have those 4 total revenue ranges you can see on the slide. And we, again, calculate that from the dynamic chamber benchmarking survey results. So it's very easy to qualify, and it's so easy that Sandra will tell you about her experience in a bit. But basically, all you have to do, again, is participate in the annual survey questions within the first quarter of the new year, and your chamber is automatically entered into the MAA process. So retention data is pulled from dynamic chamber benchmarking, again, by the end of March, within that first quarter of the new year. And if you're familiar with dynamic chamber benchmarking, you will know that we say there are no deadlines except ... when you apply for Chamber of the Year, which has the same kind of deadline early first quarter of the new year, as well as the Membership Achievement Awards. So those two do have deadlines if you are interested in qualifying for Chamber of the Year or being eligible for the MAA. So just keep in mind, you can participate in dynamic chamber benchmarking anytime, 24/7. The system is open all the time, 7 days a week. You use your ACCE login to access. You can review and edit your answers anytime. And you can benchmark with peers, so you can actually know where you stand with, say, for example, 2016 data if you're interested in applying for Chamber of the Year for this coming year or in the MAA awards. So again, you can benchmark with the system now to get an idea of where you stand. And Sandra will also talk a little bit more about her benchmarking experience with DCB as well. So survey participants can also download the membership statistics reports from FY fiscal year 2016 back to 2012 to gauge performance. So you can basically participate anytime, you can benchmark anytime, and you can download peer reports instantly from DCB. But just keep in mind, if you are thinking about applying for those awards, Chamber of the Year, MAA, you do need to have your data in by the end of that first quarter, by the end of March. So just a really quick overview: to access DCB, you will go to ACCE's webpage, and I'm going to just click over there into this area where you can find DCB. So you'll click on Information. There are a couple of points you can access dynamic chamber benchmarking. Again, Information, DCB here, or you can click here. We also have a couple of resources under this block that you can download the data collection worksheet to help prepare your answers, or see the quick start guide. And then we have a resource page called Working with Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking. So that gives you a little bit more tips. Once you're inside Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking, it is a separate platform, and you will see your name and your chamber. There's a support section up here, and then the two main sections to participate in are Chamber Profile and Operations Survey. So once you have your chamber's data entered in both Chamber Profile and Operations Survey, then again you can run reports. And I'll just show you that report page for Operations Survey. I ran a membership statistics report already, just downloaded here, and you can just see an example of that. So you could benchmark with retention data right now for fiscal year 2016. So those reports are instantly downloaded, can be instantly downloaded by all survey participants. And there are a number of different reports. We do have a live chat you can use to ask us any kind of question that you have about working with dynamic chamber benchmarking. And I am also available to schedule an individual web meeting or phone call with you to assist you with your dynamic chamber benchmarking process, answering those questions. So just keep in mind there are lots and lots of ways to get support when you're working with DCB. That's just a screenshot of what we were just looking at to participate in Chamber Profile and Operations Survey. And as Sandra will mention here in a little bit as well, the benefit to getting, you can participate anytime, the benefit to getting your fiscal year 2016 data in now, even if you hadn't participated yet, is that it will help you save time with answering the fiscal year 2017 questions. There's a tool inside Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking called Copy Prior Year Data. And so that means you can quickly and easily copy 2016 over into the forthcoming new 2017 answer fields. So just a note about that, the fiscal year 2017 surveys will open up for participation in just a few weeks, early November. So watch for that. We'll send out some member announcements as well. So I'm going to show you a little bit more about the retention data that you can, again, download in DCB. This is from a real MAA top 10 placer from a year ago. And so this is one of those slides you could download in the membership statistics report slide deck from DCB. And we can see that this chamber actually was in the 100th percentile. And that was member retention of accounts. And on the slides from Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking, we do include the calculation. And I'll show you a little bit more on the calculations as well. But so we can see that this chamber was definitely a high producing chamber in their retention of total member accounts. And here again, same winning chamber. This is member retention of dollars, and this chamber was at 93% retention of dollars, or in the 67th percentile. So meaning they did place in that top 10. And then here again, first year member retention of accounts gives you the calculation, and it shows that our chamber here had 88% retention of member accounts, first year member accounts, and they were in the 88th percentile. So just wanted to share that with you, as well as spelling out those membership calculations that we use for MAA. And we, again, compile that every year by the end of March, and then determine the top 10 in both retention of dollars, and here is that calculation, as well as member retention of accounts, and here's that calculation, as well as first year member retention. All of this is also spelled out inside Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking, and I'm always happy to answer questions about that process as well. So as we mentioned, you can see the previous top 10 MAA recipients, and I already showed you that from ACCE's website. You just go to Professional Development Awards and then Membership Achievement Awards to see the previous top 10, and you can download the convention booklets. So as Susan mentioned earlier, Sandra Brewer from the Chattanooga Chamber has been a survey participant for a number of years, and they have been in the MAA top 10 placement for the past 3 years in retention of dues. And as mentioned, you can go to that Achievement Awards page and download those booklets to see where Chattanooga or other chambers placed in those past couple of years. And also, as previously mentioned, the Chattanooga Chamber was the 2017 Chamber of the Year winner in Category 4. So congratulations to the Chattanooga Chamber and to Sandra, and we want to welcome Sandra and talk a little bit more about her process in participating in both the Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking survey questions, how she got organized, and then what led her to participate in the MAA program. So with that, I'd like to welcome Sandra, and we'll have an interview here, and we'll learn more from Sandra's experience. So, hi, Sandra.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me here today. I'm happy to be a part of this webinar.
Thanks so much for being here. We're pleased to have you, and so let's dive in. So we want to say, what led you to participate in the MAA award program?
I think when I got on staff and I started looking at the ACCE website and saw the benchmarking, and it just fascinated me that I could go in there and put my information and learn trends and help me in my job and produce reports. So I started there. And honestly, the award was just a happy outcome. I didn't really even know that we were up for that. And then we were at the convention and we were winning. So that was kind of cool.
That is cool. That's that happy discovery here in point 3. And when we were talking about this, and I met Sandra at a convention back in Montreal, I think, or maybe even before that. And I love that it was a happy discovery, and we're grateful for the opportunity to share information about this MAA program as well now. And for many, it has been a happy discovery. So that's one of the benefits and advantages of participating in Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking is, if you have your numbers in, your answers in to those survey questions, then happy outcome is that you may be eligible for that top 10 in MAA. So really glad about your happy discovery. And what else did you find with your discovery process, especially related to Chamber of the Year, MAA program related to Chamber of the Year?
Well, I've just been using the benchmarking for so long now, and I use it for so many different things, for analysis, for reporting to my board, for job performance reviews, just seeing the trends in the industry. And I was sitting there thinking about, why did I even want to apply for Chamber of the Year? We applied, and we were finalists in 2015 and won this year. And I think it was just because it's kind of starting out with that. Oh, we're pretty good, So, and then, like I said, the website is amazing, and you kind of throw everything out there that you're doing. So it just kind of spurred my interest, and because I had all the information in dynamic benchmarking already, I was on my way, and so we went for it, and here we are.
I think that's exciting to hear. So, and that's really one of those benefits of using the survey data and benchmarking is that you can see exactly how you perform. What are some tips you have about participating in the annual surveys and how that really, how you could maybe get a step forward with the MAA or Chamber of the Year?
No, I just think that you can't give up. It's not a lot of fun, or it is a little difficult to get it in there the first time, but it is so worth it. We happen to have a CFO, which is great, so she was able to help. We pulled all of our numbers together in the first time and worked together and got the information in there. But after you get it in the first time, like, you could copy it, and it's definitely after it's in there the first time. And I'm able to show trends from 2012, and the trend report is just amazing because you can do the trends. Like, I don't know if you can show it on the screen, but you can do the trends, and you can also, compare yourself with your peers. And when I got ready for this webinar, I just did some new reports, which I just found out there's a brand new chamber report card, which I didn't even know about, that I'm showing to my executive committee. And it's just, there's just so many tools to use. So, just keep going with it. ACCE, I didn't know this either. This was kind of fun, is that Sarah, when you see that little live chat, you actually talk to Sarah. And she was actually able to go into my own benchmarking and help me figure out how to pull it with my peers. So they are amazing resource. So I just encourage you to do it and to use the ACCE staff to help you, because there's no way that you can make those kind of reports for yourself. If you want to show off what you've done to your board, the reports are beautiful. If you want to look at how you compare with your job salaries, there's just so much valuable information that you just don't want to miss it.
Excellent, Sandra. I think that's such great points. I'm pulling up both the chamber report card and the trend report that you mentioned. And again, that's all in dynamic chamber benchmarking. I'm going to save this one so you can see that chamber report card. We did launch this one, and this is it is very handy to use. Again, like Sandra was saying, she could benchmark and just pretty much hand this to your board. And the neat thing too, and I know in working with Sandra, you and we were talking about how you can edit a lot of these, you can edit all of these products that come from dynamic chamber benchmarking because they are office products. So if you choose not to show your entire report as you're benchmarking or working with your staff and planning for awards or talking with your board, you can edit out, anything within the report. You could make notes, you can add any kind of fancy graphic. So you have a lot of options because these are fully editable. And so that is one thing I really like about dynamic chamber benchmarking. And as Sandra said, we're definitely available to help either we are on chat, so this is the HERO team, this is Tamara Philbin, COO at ACCE, and myself and the HERO team. We do staff the live chat. We're offline because of this webinar right now, but you can always still use this chat and ask us a question, or you have my email in the slide deck as well, and you can contact us anytime. And so here's that chamber operations trend report that Sandra was talking about. This is also a fairly new download. Mostly this has data on membership trends. And so again, very helpful if you choose just to take one slide and benchmark and focus on, or maybe the 3 slides, the retention slides of accounts, and then first year member retention accounts, and then the dollars. You could just focus on those 3 slides and see exactly where your chamber is at over those past couple of years, 2012 up to 2016, and how you compare to peers. So it's very powerful in letting you see, oh, we are right in line with peers in our comparison group. And so this is just, again, a very helpful report. You can completely customize it. And as mentioned about comparisons, you have some options here within the filtering up above that let you adjust who you are comparing to, or benchmarking. I like the term benchmarking better. So again, the chat service or the email service that we have on our website are all available to help you with determining how to use the different filters and really working with dynamic chamber benchmarking. We also, as mentioned a bit ago on our website, have a couple of great resource pages. on, let me go there, acce.org, information, and then working with dynamic chamber benchmarking, we have this page here, which gives you information about getting started, and including our quick start guide and the data collection worksheet, as well as the opportunity to schedule a webinar with ACCE staff. But down below, let's scroll all the way down, here's some great resources, Chamber Benchmarking in Action. And this last one is from the Benchmarking for Improvement presentation handout from the panel discussion facilitated by Kathy Height at ACCE's 2017 convention. We also had a session called Measuring Your Success. You can download both of those presentation handouts, as well as a webinar we had last year on benchmarking best practices with Kathy that was offered in January. And this one was very well received because Kathy really shared how to measure retention performance. So just those are all available on this Working with Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking page. So back to Sandra, I want to hear a little bit more. What were some of your board's, what was your board's feedback or your community's feedback on MAA and the accolades you've received?
Well, it's like we decided to go to tiered dues 3 years ago, and obviously the board was a part of that decision, and to be able to show them through these reports of how well it worked for as far as our retention, that was just a very, it was great because we could prove that what we did worked. And obviously with Chamber of the Year and the membership awards, our whole city is proud. I mean, it's like not just our board. It's like we had a party of the year for the Chamber of the Year, and it's just been a really source of pride for all of our councils and our volunteers. So, the awards mean stuff. They showcase that, you've got a really great chamber, and your members are, what make it great. So they feel good about it.
That's excellent. And does it help you, too, in thinking about the Horizon Initiative Chambers 2025 to have your chambers really or your members really think about investing and helping transform all the work that your chamber does within your community?
Yeah, we've used the Horizons a lot with all of our different departments with workforce education, and that's a very valuable tool also. That's why I think so many things on ACCE website and the things that y'all do, you just need to use them because they help you, form what, the rest of the country is doing, and so you get to see best practices. And yes, that Horizons report definitely shaped us for even going forward more.
Excellent. Glad to hear that the Horizon we have a microsite on the ACCE website that focuses on all of the different initiatives or areas for Horizon initiatives. So you can definitely, like Sandra, you just said, use the award process and the dynamic chamber benchmarking to do that peer benchmarking and comparison and work towards the transformational chamber. And so as you have won several awards and have been a recipient of the top 10 MAA for the past 3 years, are you going to continue reaching for the stars?
Of course.
We love to hear that.
I want to get my new member retention up. It was kind of funny just watching the charts. We did a membership event several years ago that we knew that it was going to affect our first year retention, but we built our base and then we went to the tiered dues. So now that I've got my retention for my dollars up, I want to get my first year back up again. And also, I'm going to try to go for my CCE. So personally, I want to achieve something through one of the programs that, ACCE offers. So yes, I'm definitely going to keep reaching for the stars.
Oh, that's excellent. Certified Chamber Executive Program, and that's, so if you have questions, if our audience has questions on that, Susan McGuire can address questions on CCE. So excited to hear that, Sandra. That's great. And then I know you've shared a few tips about MAA and survey participation. Here's a little bit more to use your words. Would you like to add anything else about advice or recommendations for fellow ACCE members?
My biggest thing is to use you guys as a resource because, if you have questions, I think that's what sometimes when people try to do stuff like that, they get frustrated. They don't know how to complete their assignment or something, but that's really not an excuse because y'all are there to help. And I would just strongly recommend that they use the resources that are available.
That's great to hear. Thanks, Sandra. And I'm going to just show a couple of resources here really quick on our website as ways you can contact ACCE. So there are a few places. Number one, if you click on information and you can go to Ask ACCE, just go there and feel free to ask any question. We have phone, we have email, we have the chat as mentioned inside Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking. You could sign up for an e-tour, and then we also have a contact form to make sure a question goes to a staff member in a specific area. Also, on the bottom of our website, on every web page, we have contact information here as well, and then the same link to Ask ACCE. Or you can always go to About ACCE and click on our staff, who we are, and then see our staff for a directory that you can call us by phone, or if you click on a name, you can email us. And then a couple of other notes that, Sandra, you mentioned I wanted to show inside Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking. When you are in the survey question areas, we're just going to go into the chamber profile, for example. Here's that tool that you can copy prior year data. So we always recommend have a good cup of coffee or a pot of coffee, maybe for the first year, because as Sandra mentioned, it does take a little bit of time, but it's great because once you have your answers in the first year, the first time, and you can go back to any year, back to 2012 and participate, once you have that first year in, then it's very easy to use this copy prior year data. And so the second time you participate and then following years, again, very easy to just copy prior year data on each data entry page and then adjust your answers and save. There's always, be sure to click save whenever you're done entering answers, save, and then save and home will do it. If you make a change inside the system, the field turns to green. So that's your marker to be sure to save. And so you can, as mentioned earlier, participate 24/7. You can review your answers 24/7. You can change your answers 24/7. And you can run benchmarking reports 24/7. A couple of other things that Sandra mentioned is reading the instructions, both on the membership or any awards page. Again, that's all under professional development, and then click on awards. We'll just go back to that membership achievement. It gives you on-screen instructions, and then typically we'll give you links, membership achievement awards, as well as Chamber of the Year talks about the requirement for dynamic chamber benchmarking. And so you do have to participate in the annual surveys, but it's with good reason. Exactly as Sandra mentioned, you have to know where you stand in order to see, is this a good time for us to apply for awards, for example, or would we be eligible for that MAA Top 10 recognition? And another point that Sandra made is to really, in addition to reading the award instructions, read the instructions inside Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking. We do try to spell out the question and then how you could provide your answer. This is a help tip in blue, but again, we have that different ways to contact us, and you can again send, if we're offline for some reason, you could send us an email anytime. And more than happy to clarify a question or give you some examples. So those are all very good tips. And then the other point I wanted to make is when Sandra was saying comparing to peers and saw, oh, they're really doing great work at Chattanooga. So that was working with peers. And I know I talked to Sandra, we had talked about different peer comparison groups, and more than happy to help all of our members adjusting your peer comparison filters. And so think of this like a great big database, and it will help you really compare the data, the reports that are generated with apples to apples chambers. Or if your chamber is a chamber with economic development or CVB, then it's great to compare yourself to the organization function of your most similar peers. So those are a couple of tips just wanted to share and tag along with Sandra's advice, and definitely wanted to follow up and say ask for help from ACCE staff. So we are more than than happy, always happy to help. And again, if you have questions about using examples of dynamic chamber benchmarking, we do have several samples of benchmarking reports in both the samples library and then back on that working with dynamic chamber benchmarking page. But feel free to reach out if we can help share some examples with you. I'm in the samples library. I'm just going to click on benchmarking, and then you can see a couple of different benchmarking results right here. So a couple of different ones from different chambers. Many of these are award-winning chambers. And also, we welcome your examples on how you are using the survey data and benchmarking data in your board reports and your annual reports and so forth. So always more than happy to have your peer reports to help build the samples library. So that is great to hear from Sandra. I think we now have time for question and answer, and also to hear a little bit more from Susan. So feel free, if anyone has questions either for Sandra about the MAA and how they participated, or Sandra's experience in sharing the reports with her board or her staff, feel free to ask away. Or any questions right now about dynamic chamber benchmarking, again, ask away, or we'll also include our hero email so you have that as well.
All right, well, thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Sandra, for that terrific presentation with all those details and all the information about both DCB and the MAA awards. And we really encourage all of you to reach out to Sarah if you have questions, or Sandra as well. You know, we'd be happy to, they're the experts, and I know they'd be happy to help and talk it through. So now is the time to ask questions on the webinar if you have any. You can simply type the question into the question box, and we'll read it out and answer the question. If you don't have any right now, or you want to wait till later, again, please contact us after the webinar, and we'd be happy to talk with you. And I don't see any quite yet, but maybe what we could do, Sarah, is could we take a look? I'd love for folks to see our Membership Development Division page. Even if you don't participate in this award or other awards, if you're a membership development professional with ACCE, please, I hope you know where our MDD or Membership Development page is. So you'll go to any page of the website, you click on Networks, you hover over Divisions, and then you move all the way to the right and click on Membership Development Division. And you'll see, if you scroll down, we have links to our LinkedIn discussion group. We have our ACCE tour, other webinars, recordings. We have our e-newsletters. We have links to our Circle of Champions program, links to all of our awards programs. And if you go to the bottom, you have a link to our ACCE Hero portal, information portal. Boy, I skipped a lot of things. Boy, we have roundtable call recordings as well, and we have sales training handouts, so lots and lots of good stuff, and dynamic chamber benchmarking right there. So if you are a membership professional, please take a few minutes to take a look at this page, and if you want, you can be a member of our MDD. And then to do so, I think if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that page, Sarah, there's a link. Email divisions@acce.org to sign up, or just email me. My email is smcguire, smcguire, @acce.org, and I will get you signed up. So that's where to get lots and lots of good membership information. So let's take a look here. All right, well, we don't have any questions right now, but again, if you have any that come up later, please don't hesitate to contact us. This webinar was recorded. I will include some interesting links and things that were brought up during the webinar as well, and take a look for the recording on that MDD page by tomorrow, if at all possible, but it should be there by tomorrow. Okay? Sarah, you have any last words, or Sandra, any parting words or advice?
Sandra, any words from you here?
Just if anybody has any questions of me you think of later, if you'd like to call me, I'm more than willing to answer anything, and just good luck.
That's great. Thanks, Sandra. Thanks for being available. And then my parting words, because I love quotes, I say growth is never by mere chance. It is the result of forces working together, as you could see demonstrated by Sandra's work with her staff and her board, and ultimately with the Chattanooga community. And that quote comes from James Cash Penney. So just want to thank you all for attending and for your participation in the awards and being an ACCE member, and for also being connected to the survey data benchmarking and dynamic chamber benchmarking. It really does make a difference. Your survey answers do make a difference in the chamber industry. So knowing that you're lending your expertise and your value to the peer comparisons really means the world for other chambers to be able to set those benchmarking bars and to achieve new goals. And as Sandra said, they're going to continue reaching for the stars and aiming for the top and seeing where they can go next. So it's very exciting thinking of MAA and Chamber of the Year and the different awards, and then all of the resources that ACCE has available as part of your work in transforming your community. So hats off to all of you. Thanks for all of your great work, and feel free to reach out anytime. Thanks so much for your attention today.
Okay, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye.